حياكم مرة ثانية على تختيم النير. الحين بنبدأ روت بي، التختيمة بي، أو معروف أيضا باسم ثاني أنا أحب أسميه، اسمه عبد السلام. بيقعد ساعة الحين يصيح لأن روت بي مرة شنيع وأليم وقوي. أقوم من أوتوماتا، فنبدأ نقول بسم الله ولا نطول. يعني هذه اللي خلصنا اندنج اي. نبدأ الحين بنشوف القصة من منظور كايني. أنا ليش بديت حبيت أسوي هذا بسرعة؟ عشان أول الكلام برضه قصة. الحين بدنا نشوفه بس متغيرة شوي.
Whenever I interacted with Kaine, I was reminded about something from my past.
وشو؟
Maybe my mind has been confusing her with my
صح.
sister this whole time. Here we go.
طبعا زي العادة معي موية ولا شيء مع قراية. كان his dream discrimination. The sound of rain filled the village. Steep cliffs that surrounded the area magnified sound, causing even the slightest drizzle to rattle like a thunderstorm. The whips of smoke streamed from huts as the villagers huddled in their homes and waited out the rain. A single child, however, had braved the downpour and was now wandering slowly toward the wooden hawk-shaped weather vane at the center of town. The wanderer reached the vein, which had existed for as long as they could remember, and stared. The child's face was seamlessly delicate and fierce, like a teacup that had survived a shipwreck. Those traits, combined with pale white skin, to give the face an almost sexyless quality. If the beak turns east, I go home. If it says west, then the child blinked wrongly. Rain slowly dribbled down the young one's short hair and began its long descent to the ground. Come on. The child felt a slightest breeze and watched as the vein slowly cracked to life, spinning this way and that for a moment. It finally settled with the beak pointed firmly toward the east. East? Really? East? Really? عجبني الواد ده. طبعا هذه تتكلم عن قصة كايني. Before the vein could move again, a jagged rock came spinning and tumbling through the air, finally striking home against the child's head. Ouch! نضربه بحصات. The force of the blow dropped the child to the ground as a hail of stones began to fall all around. Deserted. Oh no, they found me. A heartbreaking smile crept across the child's face as the stones continued their assault. Ugh. Through the rain, the sound of multiple footsteps grew louder before a voice rang out. Yo-ho, Kaine! The voice belonged to Demo, worst of all the bullies in the area. هذه الأيري! As Kaine struggled to stand, a final stone came skidding through the mud and bounced against her foot. Blood oozed from cut above her eye. Ouch! جرح بعينه. And blurred her vision, but she could make out the shape of Demo and his usual gang of idiots. The boy seemed taken back for a moment by Kaine's seeming indifference to the blood dripping from her face, but quickly ranked his bravado. What's up, freak? You like the rain? You like getting all wet? Or did you finally decide to run away from home? Freak? يمكن عشان نص شيء. Though she knew it was futile. هذه. Kanye turned to leave. Before she could get more than a few steps, the other children scrambled and surrounded her, cruelly burning in their eyes. Kanye knew those were not the only eyes on her. The traumatized parents watched from the safety of their home. She was attuned to this sensation. لحظة كانت مدينة ايري. هذا وصفا ليش قاعد برا الديرة طول الوقت. Sensation, it was one she had experienced many times before. دقيقة شوي. While some villagers simply turned a blind eye to the action of their children, many encouraged it openly. A satyr. In society ruled by suspicion and fear, Kanye was something to be hated and, if possible, destroyed. I didn't say you could leave, freak. Demo's words chewed at her like worm through an apple. He can't hurt me, she lied to herself. Be strong, be brave. He can't hurt me, he can't hurt me, he can't. Oh look, the little freak is going to cry. What's wrong? Are you sad that everyone hates you and wants you to die? Yikes. Kanye prayed for the rain to flood down and carry her away from a world that seemed to have no place for her. But if there were gods, they chose to ignore her as Demo crept ever closer. The clouds began to thin and the rain slowed. Even the weather hates me. I'm useless. I'm a failure. عفوا. I wish Demo's rock had taken off my head. Kenny couldn't meet Demo's leering gaze. She lowered her eyes and stared at the muddy ground below. The bully moved forward until he was inches away. She could smell the stench of blood, of old meat on his breath. The boy grabbed Kanye's face with thick fingers and yanked it upward. She tried to turn away, but he forced her gaze back and jammed his thumb against her eye. Wow! Yikes! Her eyelid to pay it open. يدخل اصبعه كذا بعينه. Ugh, you're a freak. No, I'm not. Did you just say no? They immigrate evilly. You don't say not to me. No one says no to me. Not even taken. ديمو هذا شكله واحد وسخ. Take his attention from Kanye. He called his trolls. Come on guys, let's give this freak what she deserves. As soon as Demo finished kicking and blows began to rain down upon Kanye. Demo paused, still grinning as Kanye crawled into a ball and tried to make the pain stop. I didn't get you, freak. What you acting like a girl for, huh? Everyone knows what you really are. لحظة. Acting like a girl. يمكن عرفت. اصبر لحظة. كانت acting like شلون يعني هو ولد لابس بنت بس ما شفنا شيء انه يظهر انه ولد. ما نعرف شو القصة. Can you ignore the question? She chose instead to stare at the weather vane. It continued to point east. It's supremely confident about the future it had chosen for her. Go home? Yeah, that's funny joke. That's funny joke for someone with dead parents and no home to go to. Freak, chanted the children. Freak, freak, freak. Kenny closed her eyes and listened to the rain, waiting for the pain to start again. As the clutching hands of the villagers' children close around her, she bent her mind to the sound of rain, letting it become her world enter. The rain fell, but the pain never came. Only when the laughter of her torment turned to terrifying cries did she dare open a single blood-cacked eye. Satyr. Kino was shocked to see Daimo sprawled on the ground, holding his head and screaming in pain. في أحد ضربه. She could see blood welling from space between his flat, twisted fingers. Oh my god, he's crying. He's actually crying. Deprived of their leader, the other villagers glanced back and forth between themselves as if waiting for someone to step forward and take charge. When Nosivia emerges, they begin to uneasy shuffle away from Kaine. في حد هاجمه, but the young girl was at least the least of their concern. Instead, their attention was wrapped on the ancient woman standing a few feet away. أي صح يتكلم عن جدته. After struggling for breath for a moment, she finally spoke in a voice thick with rage. Hurts like a bitch, don't it? Now I suggest you scatter before I throw another one. And if any of you little bastard ever touch my Kaine again, I'll do far worse than throw a rock. You can count on it. بنيت المرة شكله رهيبة. The old woman crouched down and gently touched the hand Demon was using to cover the wound. Before he could think or protest, she ground her palm into the wound, twisted back and forth. Ow! يا ساتر. Ow! He screamed, leaping his feet. Stop it! What are you doing? Quit whining, ain't no one ever died from a scratch. رهيبة. You hit me with a rock, you stupid bitch. A big one, that thing could kill me. The old woman shrugged. Death is the best cure for stupid. رهيبة الجدة دي. Death is the best cure for stupid. أنا لو صرت استاذ واحد عندي ما فهم. Demon face twisted with rage at her words. Locking his eyes on Kaine, he took a step backward and spat on the ground. Get out, leave this village, no one wants you here, either of you. Seeing the old woman grabbed another stone, Demon and his companion بعذرهم خافوا. As they fled, the old woman grabbed her side and barked out single laughter. Ha, look at the fat boy go. Guess he's healthy enough to run from a fight. رهيب ذي المرة. The woman's smiles faded as she turned her attention to Kaine. Kneeling down, she removed her shawl and placed it around the young girl's shoulder, and produced a cloth from the folds of her dress and began blotting at the blood on her forehead. باختصار طبعا شو اسمه هذه شيء قطعت جزء من فستانه وربطته على راسه عشان ما توقف الدم. Oh Kaine, she said, why didn't you fight back? You're stronger than them. ما انتبهت زين. The words of her grandmother stunned Kaine and she turned away. Don't be nice to me, she said. I don't deserve it. Nothing matters anymore. Her tears held in check for so long finally began to fall to the muddy ground below. Everyone hates me. They think I cause bad things to happen. They think I'm a freak. I wish I was dead. As Kaine's tears turned to sobs. She felt her grandmother's hand on her shoulder. Despite her advanced age and Demon's sight, she was a woman of surprising strength, and Kaine found herself unable to turn away. Don't talk like that, Kaine. It's a river wide and deep that flows between the realms of this world and the next, and it grants no mercy to any that attempts the crossing. You got a duty to fight until your last breath. Understand? The old woman tightened her grip and tried to still the tremor in her voice. You know the pain of losing someone close to you, Kaine. You know because you survived it. As the words hit home, Kaine was struck by the force of her love for the old woman. As a young child, she didn't even know of her grandmother, but when her parents died, the woman quickly accepted her as her own. Grandma, as Kaine called her, was cunning, vulgar, and quick to violence. هذه Kaine اللي عارفة. The first few years together had not been easy, but with each year that passed, Kaine and her grandmother had grown closer. Death is the best cure for stupid. إلى الحين هذا رائع. أي واحد كتب السطر رهيب. However, it was only sitting in the mud with tears and blood cakking her face that Kaine truly understood the depth of her affection. Here was a woman who had seen hard times, who had seen death, who had fought through all those things and somehow emerged on the other side. If anyone could understand Kanye's pain and loneliness, it was her. Do I make you sick, Grandma? Of course not. Don't be an ass. Can you draw grandmother's mouth eaten stroll around her body and shut it, but my body, it's not normal. If I was normal, then mom and dad wouldn't. Hush, interrupted grandma. شلون هي جسمها؟ يعني ايه صح، ذكرت ايش قصتها. ذكرت ان هي ايش اسمه مصطلح هيمافرودايت، باختصار يعني جسم مرة بعضاء ذكرية كذا، اشياء زي كذا تشوفها. حالة صدقية تلقاها بطل دائما تصير. Hush, interrupted grandma. I'll not hear another word of this nonsense. You're my granddaughter and I love you, and if folks have a problem with that, they can just go to hell. With that, the old woman reached out and placed a wreath of dried flowers in Kanye's hair. The skill it took to bend the flowers without breaking the stems or losing a single petal was remarkable, and the beauty of it made Kanye want to cry all over again. Oh my gosh, those are lunar tears. Grandma, you made this for me? Lunar tears with legendary flowers. ايه هذا خبرنا. Most people could live their entire lives. ايش فينا هذه؟ ثانية بس موية. Kanye reached up and touched the wraith of the wraith as if she couldn't believe it was real. Where did you find this? Oh, you know, just stumbled upon him one day while I was doing some shopping. Then turned away as she was explaining, leading Kanye to suspect that the search had been much more difficult than she was letting on. The pain she took to construct the ornament, let alone track down the flowers used in construction, made Kanye's heart hurt. She reached up and gently adjusted the wreath, admiring the way it felt between her fingers. Didn't quite turn out right, she said. Grandmother, as she squinted at it. Those old hands have trouble with delicate work, but it sure looks good on a pretty girl like you. Kanye blushed and turned away. You think I'm pretty? Of course you are. What a fool thing to say. Thank you, Grandma. Ah. Grandmother smiled. We're gonna be fine, you and me, she said. Long as we got each other, we'll be just fine. Kanye took my hand in her hand, and the two of them struggled to their feet as they began the long walk home. Kanye gripping the hand with all her might, as if she's trying to stop smoke from drifting away on the wind. The rain had stopped. Kanye stopped beneath the weather vane, watching it spin in lazy circle, no longer caring about the decoration it faced discrimination it faced when it stopped. والله discrimination لا direction. الله يعينك عبد السلام. Direction it faced when it stopped. I don't need to escape. I have home now. Grandmother loves me, and that's enough, even if it's us against the world. Ken let her gaze drift up past the vane and into the cloud sky. The last faint hints of a rainbow were slowly fading. As she turned and headed home, the light scattered into a million particles and vanished, seemingly taken away on the breeze. Kenny's dream, daily life. سأترجع تختيم دانجرامبا. In the distance, Kenny heard the steady sound of an axe striking wood. The noise had a purposeful quality to it, as if she was hearing a master woodman go about his work. The fire began produce, however, was as far from work of art as it could be. Pieces of every shape and size would begin flaunt about a barren yard, wild abandon. Anyone trying to stack such wood would probably die of frustration before the job was through. Stupid piece of shit axe. Kanye's grandmother flayed away with the axe, filling the air with both splinters of wood and words that would make the most hearted sailor blush. يا ساتر قاعدة تسب بقوة. Grandma, called Kanye. What? She yelled at Olma, taking her eyes off the wood for a moment. Oh, it's you, Kanye. Don't get too close or I might take your goddamn foot. ايش ذي الرهيبة ذي المرة. She brought the axe down on a piece of wood, sending chips flying in every direction. One span passed Kaine's close enough for her to hear the whistle, at which point she decided to step back. Once she scuttled to a safe distance, she gripped her hands around her mouth and shouted, "Grandma, do you need help? I can get you water or lunch or a new axe or something." الحين تحاول تساعد. The axe poised to strike another wobbly blow, paused in mid-air. The old woman considered her granddaughter offer for a moment, then smiled. Tell you what, since I'm doing such a piss poor job of chopping, why don't you come here and take the axe over so I can go get some water. Shades have been restless lately. يعني كان في shades هناك. Restless lately, you know, and I don't want you running into one of them bastard. Relinquish the axe. Her grandmother picked up a long pole with the wooden buckets on either end. Gathering water was by far the more difficult of the two jobs, but Kaine knew better than to complain. Once grandmother's mind was set, there was no changing it. Candice did her best to help with chores, but grandma took every task that required travel to the village. Though she had a long list of plausible excuses, Kaine knew that the real reason... لا قطعت بالغلط. Once Kaine moved... أكيد السبب الرئيسي إنه عشان الجسم. Once Kaine moved in, grandmother decided to take up residence a good distance from the area. Out of sight, out of mind seemed to be the best policy when it came to the villagers and her granddaughter. And rare when the days when any but the two of them could find on a rocky acre of land they called home. موية. يلا. Kaine enjoyed the solitude, but harbored a secret resentment that her grandmother was forced to spend her golden years in such place. After watching her grandmother leave, Kaine turned her attention to the task at hand. She had never chopped wood before in her life and soon discovered why the old woman hated the chore. بدأت تكتب زيها. Swing after a swing of the axe produced only a tiny crack in the wood, and when she finally managed to connect with a solid stroke, the tool embodied itself into the long and refused to budge. Frustrated, Kaine swung the axe around her head and threw it long and all across the yard. Damn it, crap. She suddenly understood the joy of her grandmother felt in a good curse. Happier now, she picked up the axe and forced it from the wood and resumed chopping. She had a natural skill with a blade, but the task was challenging and blister soon began from on her small pink hands. يعني كانت صغيرة. This is tough. and my logs are all weird sizes. Spitting on her palm and ignoring the pain, Kaine reduced her effort. Just as she was developing rhythm, Grandma returned from the village. Setting down her bucket with a small sigh, she took one look at the logs, chopped out, weaselly laugh. Pretty clumsy girl, you better practice if you... And Grandmother suddenly collapsed on her knee, causing one of the buckets to over... Precisely. Eyes widened, Kaine dropped the axe and ran to her grandmother's side. Grandma! The old woman shook her head and pointed a trembled finger at the bucket. Get the bucket, can't let it slip. Steadied the bucket with a foot as she kneeled by her grandmother. A small bit of water sloshed over the side and made a new home in the hem of her dress, but Kaine didn't notice. Grandma, what's happening? Crazed with panic, she grabbed her grandmother. She grabbed her grandmother by the shoulders and shook it. After a moment, the woman lifted her arms and baited Kaine away. Stop that, just stop, she cried, breathing heavily. It ain't like I'm dying, just tired from the chip is all. Kaine desperately wanted to believe her, but one look at the old woman's shaking hands and worn face told her more than her words ever could. Her grandmother had lived a long, hard life, and it seemed the bill was coming due. The time when her grandmother watched over Kaine was ending, soon than either of them had feared. The position would be reversed. The next morning, Kaine came to the side of her... وش قاعد يصير؟ Kaine came to the side of her grandmother's bed and took her wrinkling hand. Grandma, you're sick and you need medicine. I'm going to the village. The old woman shook her head and tried to rise, but Kaine gently pushed her down. It's alright, she said. I'll be fine. Her grandmother fixed her with a gaze that couldn't melt steel. After what seemed an eternity, she finally lowered her eyes and sighed. Well, I don't like it, god damn it, but I guess I shouldn't quit being so stubborn and all, and let you grow up. The old woman watched Kaine strap on her boots and made her way down the road to the village. Hours later, as unseen sun made its way across a dark and rainy sky. لحظة شلون كانهم بديرة ما يجيها الشمس كذا بس في مطر. Okay. She was still watching. Kaine moved at a brisk pace, checking her pockets every few minutes to make sure the money her grandmother gave her is still there. Every noise caused her to spin on her heel, making sure she wasn't being stalked by Shade or worse, Daimo and his gang. But she... right? But she encountered neither tournaments nor nor shade, and Kaine finally found herself at the entrance of the village. The few adults she could see glanced sideways at her, then muttered to each other behind raised hands before slinking away into the shadows. Heart racing, Kaine took a series of rapid, shallow breath and tried to calm herself. I have to prove myself. I have to help Grandma. I have to be strong. She chanted those words to herself over and over as she slowly made her way. Finally, her eyes settled on a rotund older woman, who was angrily waving her arms in the air and telling anyone who would listen exactly what she thought of Kaine's presence. Hey lady, said Kaine with a pride she did not feel. What's the apothecary? ما عرفت والله معليش. ما عرفت اقرا معليش. The woman's flabby cheek shook in bewildered anger. How dare this thing speak to me? they seemed to say, but Kaine saw that her eyes held different emotion, fear. Yeah, we're both scared, lady. Trust me on this one. Which way? No one pointed at the small building at her right before hitching her dress and stumbled to the other direction. Kaine cringed, expecting a stone came flying from the assembly crowd, but none came. Her mind was filled with strong sense of pride as she made her way to the apostrophe, but the new emotion had little time to take root, for as soon as she opened the door, she noticed a familiar customer at the encounter. It was Dino. He'd clearly been sent here on some kind of family errand, because his gang of followers was nowhere to be found. Oh my god. He spotted, what are you doing here, freak? The insult was delivered without force, and Kaine happily ignored it, stretching on tiptoes to see over the counter. She asked the shopkeeper for the medicine. Ha! Barked Demo. That old bitch finally nailed over? Go to hell, Demo. The boy's eyes grew wild, while they seemed ready to fall out of his head, but before he could let fly a comeback, or worse, a punch, the barkeep told them to knock it off before he kicked them out of the store. Demo slunk out of the shop, cursing Kaine under his breath. When he was gone, she allowed herself to breathe once more, taking a brief tour to the shop while the owner prepared her medication. Countless tiny bottles filled with cramped stores, each with a label written in some indecipherable language. As an ocean of arams assaulted her nose, creating a scent that was exotic but not altogether unpleasant. Seeing such a variety of supplies gave Kaine a sense of peace. Surely in the world vast there would be a place that she could call home. On the far wall behind the counter rested a portrait of a stunning young girl. The picture had once continued bright, vibrant colors, but time had worked its magic, and they were beginning to fade. The beauty of the work, however, remained undemolished. You like that picture? Kaine turned to find the apocryphy with a small vial of medicine in his hand. His eyes were gentle but sad, and they seemed to stare through her and into nothing as she spoke. That's my daughter, a sketch. I sketched it when she was just a little girl. She has been dead for a long... Whoa, items man. Kaine didn't know how to respond. She just stared at the portrait and tried to come up with the right words. Pictures are wonderful things, continued the shopkeepers. They let ones close to you live on forever. He shook his head slightly, then looked down at Kaine and smiled, handing her medicine. He reached into his sizable green apron and produced a handful of old wax carrion. The Alwan. You should have these. There's no one left that I wish to draw. Kaine took an incentive step back, causing the shopkeeper face to darken. Yes, I've heard the rumors about you, he said it. It's a small village and the word travels quick. Between you and me, I'm not sure which of them to believe, but I also don't think they matter much. I know your grandmother Kayla, and I think the way she was driven out of this town is just deplorable. Grandmother's name is ما عرفتها؟ معقول عشتي معي كاني ولا عرفتي اسمها؟ Kayla thought Kaine suddenly. She was still muddling this new fact over in her mind as she reached out and gently took the crayon from the apocryphy's hand. Your grandmother's an old friend of mine, he said. Kaine scouted away yet again, and I owe her much. I'm willing to wager that she would like it if you draw a picture of her. Yes, I think she would like that very much. Kaine mumbled a quick agreement, but instead of her heart was bursting. She never before had a villager treat her with anything but complete contempt. It was tiny, almost imprinciple step, but it was a step nonetheless, and with enough tiny steps, she might one day discover the rest of the world. When Kaine returned home, she found her grandmother asleep in her bed. Her feet were blackened and raw, even bleeding a bit in places, landing Kaine to think that she finally had pacing around the room until exhaustion finally caught up with her. She placed the medicine by her grandmother's pillow and tried to leave, but found the old woman's hand collapsed around her arm. "Back already, are ya?" asked her grandmother with a yawn. "Come here, let me have a look at you." Grandma set up and يعجبني ما دام عارف اسمه لا زالوا يقولون grandma. Set up and examined Kaine from head to toe, finally satisfied that nothing horrible had befell her grandchild. She leaned back and allowed herself to relax. "Well, how was it? Did those bastards give you any trouble?" "It was kind of fun," said Kaine with a small smile. "No, seriously, it was." "It was fun, was it?" asked her grandmother in a voice which implied she believed anything but. "Uh-huh. So anytime you need me to run an errand, just let me know." As she spoke, Kaine removed the crayon from her pocket. After a brief explanation of their source, she informed her grandmother that she was going to sketch her portrait. "A portrait of me? Ridiculous. No one wants to stare at a wriggling old crone." رهيبة ذي المرة. "But grandma, it makes you live forever." Horse manner," said her grandmother, throwing back the sheet on her from her bed. "Living forever would just piss me off. Now put those crayon away and help me with dinner." رهيبة ذي المرة. But Kaine would not relent, and in the end, grandma found herself leaning against the wall of their house, as if posing for a master artist. Kaine took up the crayon and eyed her subject carefully. Just as her grandmother was about to nod off, Kaine finished the work. After staring at it for a bit, she released it from her grip, and let it slowly drift to the floor. "It's terrible. It doesn't look like it to you at all." "I'm sorry, Grandma. I thought those crayons would, make drawing easy or something." The old woman's eye narrowed at her grandmother's disappointment. "Let me be the judge of that," she said, ignoring the pain in her back and reaching into the paper. The sketch could have been a person's face. It also could have been a boulder, a lump of clay, or an incredibly misshaped loaf of bread, all rendered in a chaotic array of colors. The old woman stared at the picture for a long time, then slowly wheezed out a laughter. "Oh, Kaine," she said between laughters, "you truly are my blood. You're so clumsy as me, and I love it. But hush, I won't hear any more bawl about how ugly you think it is. It came from the heart, and I treasure it always." لبى قلب والله هالعجوز ذي. True to her word, the woman gave a picture and placed it in honor above the kitchen table. In the days that followed, Kaine would often catch her staring at the portrait with a strange smile on her face, an action she interpreted as silent, mocking laughter. A week later, Kaine stand it no more and asked her mother to take her artwork down. "Posh," he said, the old woman. "I'll take this down when they roll me in charade. Short, عفوا. She pondered this for a bit, then turned to Kaine and dropped to one knee. "Listen to me, girl. Seeing this picture makes me happy in a way I never felt before. It makes me want to go on so that someday you can feel the same happiness." It was a moment that burned itself in Kaine's memory, a perfect blend of pride and love and joy that came together from a lifelong remembrance. She swore to never forget this moment, to never forget the old woman who had made her place in the world possible. كان مقطع طويل. Time moves on. People and memories came in and out of life like ghosts passing through a hole. But this memory will be different. Kaine swore, because I will remember it forever. Kaine's dream. Superstition. Oh yeah. Alhamdulillah. Can you listen to the Can you listen to the sound of crackling firework and stared at the black object on her plate? She'd been pushing it around the wood disc for a good 10 minutes, ignoring a bemusing stare of her grandmother. Finally, she summoned her courage and gave the subject a brief sniff. A sharp, bitter scent flew her nostril and made its home there, causing her face to twist with disgust. Grandma, I can't believe you want me to eat a what's that? To eat a bug. The old woman threw some more wood under the cooking pot and snorted. It's no bug, you fool girl. It's a berry, kid. What in the hell would I be feeding you bugs? Yeah, well, it sure looks like a bug, said Kaine, and I think it burnt or something because it smells terrible. With that, Kaine held her nose and threw the berry in her mouth, chewing as little as possible. Oh yeah, that's terrible, alright. Why, you little brat, laughed the old woman. Look at this ass on you. You've been spending too much time with me, and and that's a fact. 5 years had passed since the moment when Kaine's grandmother saved her from the bullies. As is often the way with two stubborn people, their relationship had grown in fits and stares, but moved forward all the same. Meals that used to be somber affairs were now filled with laughter and hurled abuse at an equal measure. أكيد هم يحبون بعض. Kanye could not remember a time when she had been happier. As the year went by, Kanye started to shoulder more and more of the daily responsibilities. Her grandmother's legs grew weaker by the day, and she could no longer do many of the chores she used to take for granted. And so this morning you find Kanye's landing on her work boots with a breakfast of burnt berry rolling through her belly. Where are you going? Oh لا الموسيقى اشتغلت. Where are you going today? asked grandmother suddenly. Kanye looked up surprised. The old woman rarely asked for specific anymore. Well, I was gonna check out the climate trees and see if they were ripe. I thought we could make some jam or something. Oh, and I'm going to pick up some flagstone, so I need to take the wheelbarrow. Flagstone? What in the hell for? Kinda stared at her grandmother, then held out an arm and swept it around their home, constructed mostly of cloth, rope, and rubber. The old place sagged like a boxer in the final round. بيتهم يخرب ويبون يصلحونه. Grandma, a dying cat could chew through this house. I'm going to build a stone wall and we have some protection. The woman laughed, exposing her toothless grin to the world. The old woman laughed, exposing her toothless grin to the world. God damn it, girl, if bitch thieves want to ransack this whole place, let them. We ain't nothing, we're stealing anyway. ما دورك تتخيل هي دائما لابسة قريفية. I'm not worried about thieves, I'm worried about shades. People saw one west of the village yesterday. The old woman tilted her head and stared at her granddaughter. Well, shoot, I don't know, well, shoot. دقيقة شوي. Alhamdulillah. Well, shoot, I don't know why you have to do it today. We can't worry about it some other. Grandma, no. If I don't go to the common trees, we won't be eating tonight, you know that. A confused expression passed across the old woman's face, and for a moment she was a small child lost in a carnival. Yes, she said after a bit. Yes, of course, you're right. I'm sorry, kindly, it seemed my mind is. She didn't finish the thought, instead walking over to her nightstand and gently taken wreath of lunar tears from the drawers. The flowers petaled her aged to a brilliant witness, and Kanye thought it was more beautiful now than the day she first received it. يا ساتر مغبيتها معي من 5 سنين. You're gonna be a true woman soon, Grandma said as she placed the flowers in the girl's hair. So that means less chatter about shades and bullied and building defenses wall and more talk about how beautiful you've become. Annoyed, Kanye reached up and removed the garland, but the look on her grandmother's face stopped her hand. You're a beautiful thing, said the old woman, and there ain't another like you in all the world. I'm very proud of you. Okay, Grandma, that's enough goddamn compliments for one day. Such mouth on you. Where did that come from? Gee, I wonder. I'll teach you sesame, girl, yelled Dora. Suddenly she lurched forward and grabbed Kanye by ears, pulling her around the room with a crazed grin on her face. He said, Grandma, yelled Kanye, quick in voice. Grandma, stop, what the hell? The old woman stared at her and blinked, then slowly held her winkling hand out as if it was the first time she had ever seen them. Oh, I don't know what just happened there. I'm sorry, girl. Sometimes my mind just kind of thought that. صعب اني اقرا الحين صدق صعب بديت اتألم من الداخل شوي. Thought the look on her grandmother's face was the most heartbreaking thing she had ever seen. Listen, she began. Maybe I should stay home after all. No, I won't have you stay here to keep an eye on an old codegger like me. You gotta get your fruit and your bowl and whatnot. I'll be fine. And when you come back, I'll have a nice grasshopper dinner waiting for you. Kanye rolled her eyes, then kissed her grandmother on the forehead, and made ready to depart, trying desperately to ignore the worry that was gnawing at the wall of her heart. Kanye could feel the old woman's eye watching her as she moved down the path. Don't turn around, she told herself, but in the end, temptation was too great. She spun on her heel for one final look and saw a small, bent woman standing in front of her ramshack hut with a sad expression on her face. God, she looks so old now. It's like the wind could reach down and just carry her away. Kanye worried about her grandmother all day, causing her work to suffer. What little fruit she could collect was tossed carelessly into the wheelbarrow, and she only found a couple of stones before losing interest in the subject. Finally, as dusk approached, she decided to call it a day. Cursing herself for the lack of focus, Kanye pushed the nearly empty wheelbarrow back down the path. As she crested the final hill, she suddenly froze in place. The wheelbarrow fell from her fingers and collapsed on its side, sending a few pieces of wrinkled brown fruit rolling back down the hill. Her gaze was transfixed by a thick black cloud that hovered just ahead. Tracing it the path with a finger, Kanye suddenly felt her stomach knot in itself. No, oh gods, no. Her grandmother's house was ablaze, the flames licking up as trying to touch the sky itself. Grandma! Kanye then faster she had ever moved in her life. Once she tripped on a stone and went scrolling into a rocky ground, but her leap on her feet continued running, unmindful of the blood that sped from her wand, hand, and neck and knees. As she got closer and closer, Kanye's mind began to race in a minute with her foot's fall. It's too dark, no, just fire. Can't be fire, too much smoke. Gotta save her. She burst into the front yard and came to a sudden halt, her suspicion confirmed. The smoke from the fire was mingling with thicky, inky blackness of enormous shade. مو هذاك اللي ذبحناه بالبداية. The massive creature spread itself of 3 twisted feet and achieved balance through means of large enormous tail. Scattered horns and claws sprung from its body in random catastrophic pattern, giving it the appearance of lizard designed by some insane god. Seeing Kaine, it let out a roar and flicked its tail, sending a small whirlwind spinning around the yard. For a moment, the creature retaliate in a shimmering, icky blackness, as her mind was unable to comprehend that such a thing could actually exist. But then the small hit her, a bent of rotten meat, an exterminate, and the horror became real once more. The creature bowled again, and this time Kaine responded with a scream of her own. Alright, you bastard, she thought, as her scream echoed of high cliffs around them. It's you or me, let's go. The shade-eyed Kaine with bemused interest. Then it began looking for her to the house and back again, as if urging her to look at the destruction it had gleefully warbled. With dread building in her heart, Kaine glanced toward the house, though smoke and flame. She spun a small, fragile, struggling to escape the ruins. Grandma! At the sound of her voice, the old woman began waving frankly. She's alive, thought Kaine. She's alive. Kaine's legs springing to life as she reached across the yard toward the flaming wreck of the house. Before she could advance more than a few steps, the shade opened its mouth and let out a roar powerful enough to uproot trees and send them flying. The blast sent Kaine trembling through the air before smashing her against the rocky earth. Stuttered danced in front of her eyes as she tried to remember how her legs worked. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up now! As Kaine struggled to her feet, the shade stumbled toward the house and pinned her grandmother to the ground, the tip of the claw. The old woman struggled to move. الحماس كله ده عشان كلام. The old woman struggled to move the claw from her stomach, but she might well have been pushing a mountain. She coughed briefly, sending a small prayer of blood into the air, then collapsed to the ground, her energy spent. Candice launched to her feet, only to fall back to earth with a gasp. Her ankles were on fire. One or both of them were surely broken. Ignoring the pain that screamed through her body, she began dragging herself across the ground, leaving drunken trails of dust and blood in her wake. Grandma, hold on, just a little longer. Her grandmother's face was turned blue. Her eyes rolled back until only the whiteness were exposed. Kaine pulled herself across the ground with maddening slowness, the distance seeming to increase with every second that passed. The shade glanced between the two women and flicked out its tongue, its giant mouth turning up, the corners short painting beneath bleached from somewhere deep inside its core. Bastard, laughing at us. She had no idea how such a mindless creature could experience emotion, but there could be no doubt that Shade was taking joy in their suffering. Yeah, I see your plan. The Shade moved its claws slightly along Grandma to breathe again. It was clearly keeping her alive, only to snuff out her life when Kaine was close enough to touch her. I'm gonna kill this bastard. Summoning all her strength, Kaine rose to her feet. There was a sickening snap from her right ankle. Yikes. As the foot twisted backward, but She forced it from her mind and began to hobble toward the monster. Pulling a small knife from the pouch at her waist, she leapt on the foot that pinned her grandmother and plunged the weapon deep down. "Give her back," she screamed. "Give her back to me." It was like stabbing a rock. After a few swipes, the knife broke to the hilt with a dull snap. The shade painted laughter again. Then raised its tail and sent it rushing through the air toward the young girl that was leached onto its foot. Connie never had a chance. The tail صعب اني اقراها والله صراحة. The tail struck her squirrel into the chest and sent her crashing into the burning wreckage of the home. As she lay down on the ground with blood spurting from multiple wounds, a small weak voice spoke up. "Kane." ساتر والله الوضع صار حزين شوي. Kane's vision blurred, but she forced herself to focus on the sound. Finally, her eyes cleared enough for her to make out the grandmother's hand reaching out to her through the smoke. "Grandma, Kane, you've got to run. You can't defeat them." Kane grabbed the hands and held it with her strength. "Grandma, come on, we have to go." The old woman coughed loudly. One of her hands, slick with blood, slipped from Kane's grasp and trembled to the ground below. "Grandma, no. I said run, goddammit, you have to live, you have to get through." Thought that would stay forever unfinished. Before she could say another word, the shade crawled the foot descend, smashing through the remain of the roof and down upon the shattered figure of the old woman. Blood oozed thickly from gasp in the creature's toe as the terrible putrid smell assaulted Kane's nose once again. She stared at the foot, dumbfounded, convinced that what she was seeing could not possibly be real. When the creature finally lifted its appendage, all that remained underneath was twisted, unrecognizable mess of rubble and dread. Satir, her grandmother was gone. Kane blinked, trying to feel the hands which had been in her just a moment before. For a fleeting instant, she could remember the wrath of that embrace, the trembling of the fingers. But then the sensation drifted away on this breeze and was gone. Memories flashed through Kane's mind, one after the other, faster and faster, until they became meaningless jangles of noise. Kane screamed, then a thunderous sound that echoed off the cliffs and seemed rolled away forever. The shades eased forward, black itches pouring from its mouth and dissolving into smoke, growling below. The earth shook with every step as it crept towards its prey. Kane's body slowed rose, if controlled by a mad puppet master. Her arms and legs were bent impossible angles. Rajli. Her head lolled dangerously to the side, yet somehow she managed to stand. Staring at the shade, her eyes began to glow with a deep red fire. The creature, so confident just moments before, it took slow, hesitant step backwards, trying to discern if this broken human could possibly pose a threat. Kane seized the moment, laughing like a mad woman. She leaped into the air and plunged the shattered hilt of her knife deep into the leg of the shade. The shade shook Kane off like a fly, sending her crashing to the earth once again. Her chest rose and fell slowly, as if great weight were resting on it. Moist sound of pain echoed through her mind. Something warm and thick oozed from her ears. Is that blood? I think it is. I think I'm bleeding to death. No, I can't die. Grandmother told me to live. Deep inside Kaine's mind, something finally broke. The sound, the pain, the smoke, the flames, all of it faded away until the remain was single incarnation repeated over and over again. Kill it. Kill it. راح يكون مقطع شبابكم الف عافية على المشاهدة. ان شاء الله رجعنا راح نكمل قصة كايني. كما اخوكم عبد السلام معليش بس القصة شوية قديمة. كما اخوكم عبد السلام ومع السلامة.